ladies, I'm sure you remember a while back I had asked you to start collecting your recipes. And now we're going to find out what we're going to be doing with those. About, I guess over a year ago, I made this recipe book as a gift for a friend of mine that was getting married, and I gave it to her at her wedding shower. Like I said, this was about a year ago, and I did not film it, or I wasn't even doing videos back then, and so I don't have the videos. But I do have some pictures of that particular recipe book that I made for her, and I will show them to you right now. That's what we're going to be making. Now we're going to have two options. We can either make the large mason jar, or we can just make some squares with some recipes, and I have a few samples of that. First of all, I'll show you how I did the mason jar. I basically just cut it out of cardboard, and the dimensions, they're 6 inches across and 9 inches up and down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a document with the outline of it, so if you want, you can just get the copy, print it out, and then trace it on to your cardboard so you'll have the pattern for it. Then separately, I cut out another piece which represents the lid to the jar, right? And then the next step was to cut out some scrapbook paper out of this pattern. Now I actually did it two different ways. One way is I cut the entire piece out, and then another way that I did it, and you know, it's really whatever way you feel comfortable doing it. The other way, I cut out only to a little bit above what was going to be the lid, and then so then all I would do is trace out on another piece of paper the lid, and place the lid, the other paper on the lid right there, if that makes any sense. I'll show you an example here. It'll make more sense. Here we are. We have the jar, and on this one, what I did is I took the piece of paper, glued it on there, then I took the lid, put a contrasting piece of paper on that, and glued it on there. And then I put some twine on there. So that's how it starts off, for you to start to decorate it and to put on your recipes. And here's an example of what I did. This is a different color, obviously, with a little contrasting and with some twine. And I found some ephemera on, I forget if this was off of Google or Etsy, but there's plenty out there. And I put it on this little card and glued it on here, and then down here is a little recipe card. That's one way that you can do it. And you don't have to use scrapbook paper. If you want to paint the cardboard, if you want to use some of your jelly prints on it. You know, it's all up to your own imagination. I just, for this particular recipe book, I just really liked the kind of vintage look to it, and I followed that theme on the one that I made for my friend. So I had some of those things left over, so that's why I'm showing you in this style. But it really can, you know, it's up to your imagination, obviously. Then, inside of I made another one, but I took no pictures of it. So on the other one, I put pages in between. Now the dimensions, and then it would just, I'd put the mason jar, I'd have one jar, and then I'd have a page, and then I'd have another mason jar, and I did it that way. The dimensions for this was 5 3/4 across and 6 1/4 down. And I made a little example of what I did. And you can make it as elaborate or as simple as you want, but I used a manila folder for this and just folded it up, put some, again, some of my scrap paper and some little ephemera that I found. I also had this that I had it in a file. I'm not sure where I got this from. And I used that, and that can be for recipe. Put some contrasting paper, and there you go. On the back, basically the same thing you could do on this side also, or you can leave it blank so that you can literally just write out the recipe, or you can decorate it, whatever you want to do. Here's another example of one where I got a envelope, put the envelope on, glued the envelope on there, and then put the recipe card on that, and so you have a pocket where you can put your recipes. And when I glued the envelope down, I just did it around the edges so that I have the envelope, the pocket from the actual envelope, and also the pocket behind the envelope, because I only glued the edges. Again, you know, that's just another option. This is blank in the back where you could write, or you could also decorate as you did the front. So this is what I'm proposing. We're going to have a swap. I'm going to have two categories. One I'm going to put recipe card, and the other one I'm going to put mason jar, because I know not everybody would want to get, you know, involved in such a detailed project, because this is obviously a lot more time consuming than if you just did the recipe card. So those that want to join the mason jar one, you would have to include at least one recipe, and the recipe, you need to include a real recipe, one of your favorite recipes. And then somewhere on here, room for her to add others, like in the back, maybe put a envelope or a tuck spot or something where some more recipes can be added on, so that she can have recipes on both sides. Okay, so that's the mason jar one. If you don't want to do that one and you just want to do a recipe card one, these are the dimensions, that they cannot be any larger than that, because then it's going to be sticking out from the mason jar. Because probably what will happen for some people is they are going to maybe make their own mason jar cover and only sign up for the cards, and then they can fill up the cards inside of their own mason jar one. So with that in mind, we need to keep these a certain size, so in the eventuality that's what they end up doing, you know, it will fit. Okay, one other thing you need to be mindful of when you decorate is that somewhere along here they are going to punch holes to create the album, the journal, the book. Now, we don't know where that's going to be, So we need to keep a space away. Like if we're going to have something that opens up, make sure it's not so close to the edge that it's going to hinder it from opening because of the holes they have to put in. Same thing with this. There's still room for holes here. It's not going to hinder this going in and out. Same thing here. There's room for holes here, and this still can go in very, very easily. So that's my plan. I think it would be kind of fun to switch it up and do something a little different in addition to what we're already doing. And keep in mind, you can paint these, you can do whatever you want. You're not limited to be using scrap paper by any means, because this is multimedia, so do whatever you want. Surprises. I think they'll come out pretty neat. So, so when I put up there the choices, it'll be for either the mason jar or just the cards. All right, and I think it'll be fun. I'm gonna have it that these are going to be mailing out October 1st, so we have plenty of time to figure out what we're going to do and make a few. For this one, I think we're going to do the regular 5 in the group. On this one, because of weight and everything else, I think we're only going to have 3 in a group. And you may choose to do this yourself and then have these in your swap and put them inside of your own. Or do something completely different. This is just a suggestion. Alrighty then. I'm sure you're going to have questions because I don't think I explained this real well. But it's easy. I think I'm making it more difficult than it is by over-explaining it. So I'm going to post this up and see how many of you are interested. Alright? Thanks a lot.